Morning, everybody. Well, this morning I'd like to talk about these nano springs, is what they're called. So I'm just going to get right into it. I'm going to fix my funky hat. Okay. In Russia, in the Ural Mountains, there were discovered in 1991 these these people were up there doing prospecting, if you will, but not prospecting like gold panning. They were looking for minerals, and there was a group of mineralogists and miners, I guess, whoever, working up there in the mountains, out in the middle of nowhere. And as they were digging into a mountain, they were, I guess, you'd probably go through the rocks and the debris, and I don't know what kind of a machine they ran it through or the specifics. I was trying to find that information, but I couldn't find it. But between 10 and 40 feet underground, they found these nano springs, which under a microscope, an electron microscope, could reveal the perfect machining on these surfaces. Now, we're talking a spring that is so small you can't tell it's a spring with your naked eye. It would look like a hair. But under an electron microscope, you can see that it's a central shaft with a coil around it. And they're made, I believe, of molybdenum and something else. They were using, darn it, I wish I could remember the particular compounds they were using. Anyway, they're obviously manufactured, and they are obviously not something that just arose naturally, because you can tell by the way, there's very few pieces of them, and they're the kind of things that you wouldn't have found just laying on the side of a river. I mean, they're so small that the only way to find it would have been is if you were inspecting for minerals, and of course they're looking for metals up in the mountains. So without knowing too much of the detail, because it's pretty quiet and they haven't, there's not a lot of new info about it. It's been about 25 years now, I think, since it was discovered, and there's just no new info about it. But go online and research these little, I guess, nano springs is what they're called, in Ural Mountains. You'll come across them. I found it fascinating because what blew people away was the fact that these springs they very closely represent nano springs that we use today in devices such as rocketry and communication. And only since the 70s have we had this technology, so it's obviously not something that's from a long time ago, from humans, or at least not our evolution of humans. I'm not going to sit and, try to guess whether it was ancient humans or an alien race just had a ship crash there, or maybe they did a stop landing and dumped some of their garbage. Who knows? But I just found it really interesting. And after looking at them and seeing the reports on it, I think these are the kind of things that over time will just fade away in the public eye because they can't be proven. They can be assumed to be just rocket debris, which is what somebody said, that it could be just rocket debris that fell to the ground, even though it was 40 feet underground. But nano springs are hardly an exciting UFO or an alien body. These are things you have to see with, you can see a couple with your naked eye. They go between 1 inch and down to I think a 0.003 millimeters or something, or inches. So they vary in size, and they didn't find very many of them, but I'll try to post a link to it. It's pretty interesting stuff. See what you think. Take care.